Yeah. Go slavery. Yeah. The Civil War, North versus South, industrial versus agrarian, Madonna versus Shania Twain. Just as Vietnam was the first war broadcast nightly into American homes, the Civil War is the first of which we have actual photographic images. Tonight, the Reduced Shakespeare Company is proud to relive the triumph and tragedy of the American Civil War in a slideshow entitled The American Civil War, the Slideshow.
Come with us now, back in time, back to America, the mid-1800s. What was the fuel that stoked the fire, that made the steam, that drove the engine, that was the machine of the 19th century American conquest and domination? It was the blood and sweat of Africa. Millions of brothers and sisters lost their lives at the hands of slave traders, and that's no joke. But by 1861, the pressure was building and the engine was about to blow. They called it the Civil War, but there weren't nothing civil about it. Now, at this point, we are going to need some help from the audience on this. If anyone here has brought a slide projector, could you please raise your hand for me real quick?
Matt, you were supposed to bring a slide projector.
Did you bring one? The old kind. Can I borrow it? Do you mind? Oh, that's awesome. Hey, she got one. That's great. That's awesome. I owe you. That's awesome. I told you, just guess.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is good. While Matt and Reed are setting up, let me just give you all a bit of historical background, okay? The importation of slaves into America was declared illegal in 1807, but the domestic slave trade continued to grow. Now, the national debate on slavery was growing too, and the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which allowed slavery in Missouri but nowhere else north of its southern border, created an actual line dividing North and South. This was part of the Mason-Dixon line and set the scene for the war which killed more men named Zeke than any war in history. So, Michael, if you'll roll the tape, we are proud to present the sounds and images of that. Oh, stop. No, Michael, stop it. Cut the music.
Stop the music.
God.
Stop the music.
Stop the music, Mike. Forget it. Stop. We're cutting. We're going to go back. Forget. Thank you.
The time between
no,
the
stop.
coronation of
Wait,
George Washington and Abraham Lincoln was only 72 short years. And yet, in those 72 years, America had grown into two separate nations.
The South, agrarian, rich in tradition, the North, progressive and industrial.
For years, these two nations had struggled with one another.
At the heart of the fighting was the issue of slavery. And when abolitionist Abraham Lincoln became president in 1861, the South seceded from the Union, the Civil War had begun.
This photograph, by Civil War photographer Matthew Brady, captures the emotion of the Confederate soldiers at the Battle of Bull Run.
The war was the bloodiest in the history of the nation. Take a moment now to focus the projector. Good.
There was intense and deadly hand-to-hand combat.
Occasionally, soldiers had their legs blown off.
But in the end, the North overwhelmed the South through sheer numbers.
And so, Robert E. Lee finally surrendered at Appomattox, Virginia on April the 8th, 1865, and they all lived happily ever after. Except for Abraham Lincoln, who was shot in the head by John Wilkes Booth and died next morning.